I believe that absolutely everybody struggles with making meaning out of pain. I think that's something that's so difficult. But each individual personality type and who we are and what we gravitate towards and our talents equips us differently to deal with this. But I think for those of us who might be a little bit more sensitive, the ones that tend to be artists or creatives or philosophers or deep thinkers, these experiences, this kind of burden of being alive feels very, very heavy a lot of the time. And it can be difficult to integrate, I guess, the things that we see and understand and I guess live with them or make meaning out of them. Especially when things that seem insignificant from the outside just feel overwhelming. And don't get me wrong, it's not that people who are more sensitive like this feel more deeply or anything. I strongly believe that the human heart is vast in its depth, and that's a gift that belongs to everyone. It's more that emotions are easily brought to the surface, and sometimes in ways that are really unexpected. And if your reaction to things has ever caught you off guard, or you've been told that your reaction is too much, or even that your sensitivities are immature in some ways and that you need to toughen up and grow up, then you probably know what I'm talking about. Especially as a kid, this type of feedback can be difficult to sort through, and I think it's well-intentioned because people try to help people with what they know, but it's often the case that people just deal with emotions differently, and what works for them might actually be somewhat damaging or limiting to you. And the truth is that we all do have to grow and mature into who we really are, and none of us are born fully formed. If you lean towards this kind of sensitivity, but have also gotten the feedback that you need to change it or that you need to grow out of it, then you might have felt lost at different points in your life. And it's not like that kind of advice takes away the immensity of what you feel. Sometimes that can leave you feeling a little powerless or not valued, and that can lead to some anger sometimes. And it can even lead you to staying in the cycle of pain. So I kind of hope that this video might lead you to a crossroads. You might have been told that this kind of sensitivity and emotionality is your greatest weakness. And you know what? That's actually true. But it's only half the story. And if you stay there, then you might just get lost in the woods. You might just get lost in the pain. And I just want to say that this is extremely true for every single person, that their weakness, no matter what it is, exists because it's literally just your unique gifting that you haven't yet learned how to use to its fullest. I hope I can convince you that it is a gift and that you can develop it in a way and use it for good, and that there's also a way to feel a little bit less of the intensity of it. And what I mean by this is once you find purpose in how you're reading and understanding the world, things get easier. So some people are gifted with language learning and they can just so easily pick up different languages. But I think for you and I, we're gifted in the language of emotion, and that can be really difficult to navigate at first, especially as children. But as you mature that, and if you can make it through the deep dark woods, you're going to be equipped to help other people get through too. I know if your experience is anything like mine, then the sensitivity of living everyday life probably feels more like a weakness than anything. The tough thing is that normal coping mechanisms, I think, for overcoming pain or integrating it, definitely doesn't always work for us, at least in my experience. The emotions that I feel, whether they're good or bad, always are just beneath the surface or just underneath my skin, and it's really hard to put them aside when I have to do something else. It's really difficult to ignore until I can process them, but I also usually spend more time processing them than I think a lot of people, which can throw other things out of balance. It's like you're always in touch with how you feel, whether you want to be or not. Growing up, I didn't always see this relationship between strength and weakness, that they were two sides of the exact same coin. I mean, looking back, I guess I just never realized that it was all a raw capacity for empathy and compassion. And also, I had this like bold, vivid imagination. And subsequently, my parents, as well meaning as they were, worried that I would be disappointed too easily when something didn't turn out exactly as I imagined it. So they tried to coach me to have more realistic expectations. And I mean, spoiler, it wasn't unfounded. I got disappointed all the time for really silly stuff. I think I just taught myself, maybe subconsciously, that my idealistic imagination just was never gonna really affect reality, or that it shouldn't affect reality. And I think for the rest of my childhood and into my young adult life, while my imagination and vivid inner world was a huge part of who I was, I definitely believed that it should remain disconnected from reality, that it didn't have any real intrinsic value. And this caused a lot of pain because I felt like I was always hiding part of myself, or that so much of myself didn't have a real purpose. Except when I did mature and come more into my own, I realized that this strong imagination quality and my sensitivities, when developed and refined through a little bit of discipline, could be incredibly impactful on the world around me. But in order to be impactful, I had to truly understand what the hell was going on inside my mind. I needed to get clarity on everything that was impacting me from the world around me. And I discovered that I had this trait of internalization, which I think is pretty common with people who are more sensitive. And so you can let me know if you've experienced this too. But basically, because I noticed the world in all its magnitude just really easily, I think, everything left an impression on me, and I had to sort through that by hand. And it was really easy to get lost in that and try on different things that didn't really fit necessarily in my mind. And I had to sort through what was really true. And the beautiful thing about this is that it's actually allowed me to stay pretty open minded throughout my life. I'm always going to be curious, and I'm always going to ask questions and weigh different things. And I'm not afraid to, uproot a belief that I might have that may not be working for me any longer. So that's been really helpful and a strength. But on the flip side, I tend to doubt myself a lot. But when your mind is constantly used to analyzing things, when you do hit on that rock solid truth that comes from something that's bigger than you, then you tend to know it. And that's such a great experience because it's like a building block in the foundation of who you are. And being highly aware of that process throughout my life has definitely helped me work with other people and my friends and family to, walk them through and talk them through what's going on in their mind. And it's kind of like passing down some hard-won wisdom so that their paths are a little bit easier. And that has been my aspiration as an artist, too. I will say, in the midst of all of this, it is extremely difficult for me to live in the moment, and I wouldn't describe myself as like a lighthearted person necessarily, but I've accepted that because it doesn't mean that I'm not a positive person. It just means that I'm serious about who I am and about life. But I admit that There aren't too many people who are exactly like this, and I've always kind of sensed that this kind of sensitivity wasn't something that everyone felt all the time, which can definitely be isolating. If any of this is really resonating with you, I want you to listen really carefully because what I'm about to say will be really meaningful to you, and I hope that you carry it with you. So, like I said before, everyone has gifts, but you and I have this heavy, wonderful, sometimes scary gift of insight. And that's really what this is. It's almost beyond emotion because our sensitivity allows us to see and understand things and then put them together in recognizable ways that people can then actually learn from and utilize. The real beauty in this gift of yours is that you have the ability to see the world not just as it is, but as it could be. And that as it could be part is the part that causes some pain initially because there's some mourning at the disconnect between reality and everything that, reality really can and should be. But you know what? It's also that very understanding of that gap between what is and what could be that births beauty itself. I mean, that's what artists and creative thinkers are. I mean, they birth beauty in the world. We have a knack for understanding it, communicating it, and putting it before people so that they can recognize it too. I mean, it's basically hope in a bottle or in a painting or in music or anything, and that is how you're going to change the world. So I hope that gives you more confidence in who you are and that you don't have to erase or change or conform all the sensitivity that you bring to the table because it is a tool that you need. I admit that it's really hard to feel hopeful and expectant in life when you are so sensitive because you're deeply sensitive to disappointment. But accepting that this is part of you and that you don't have to just toughen up by compartmentalizing or pretending like things don't affect you, you can start to master your sensitivity to life. A lot of a dreamer's pain comes from seeing the ideal, the better, the higher, the heavenly even, and then looking around and realizing how far this world really is from that. But consider that if you can see it, maybe you can build it. I have to say that the feeling of happiness in the moment is going to be a little easier to access for those who naturally are more grounded in the moment and are more grounded in reality as it is, who can look at the world and make the best of very little. And that is an amazing strength too, by the way. And everyone needs some of that for the sake of sanity. But on the other hand, your happiness and satisfaction might come more slowly, but you'll understand it more deeply. You'll know the why behind it, and you can give that why to others, and that is so valuable. Consider that the ability to recognize the gap between what is and what could be is a rare talent because it is and it's yours. See, you're more comfortable looking at your own imperfections because your mind forces you to. And yes, this can be heartbreaking sometimes, but it also allows you to observe others' emotions and expressions a little more quickly, and you can identify them. And as hard as it is, facing your emotions and the intimidating inner workings of the human mind will come more naturally to you. You've fought these battles and you know what you're doing. And that is both a burden, yes, but it's also a blessing. Because when has the weight of wisdom ever been light? This constant self-awareness alone can drive anyone a little bit ragged. But, in the middle of that, it is this sensitivity that allows us to see the hidden beauty where others overlook it. Most people need to be taught how to extract beauty from the ordinary around them. But for you and me, We're the teachers of beauty. We're the ones who can never leave well enough alone. I've been reading a book that a friend gave me called Van Gogh Had a Broken Heart, and here's one of my favorite quotes so far. Art acknowledges the complexity of struggles while defiantly holding forth beauty, and beauty pulls us upward. So I know it looks kind of crazy right now because it's all half finished and I have this weird stick hanging out in the foreground, but I am gonna do a tree, and I think that as a tree kind of cuts into the sky and stuff, it's just gonna help frame the whole scene like in a more natural way, as if you're like coming up on the river and you have kind of foliage and stuff around. It just needs to dry and I'll let it kind of like the basic shapes, and then all like the plant life I did also needs to cure and stuff because I'm gonna do like a layer of mist and whatnot. So yeah, that'll be coming in part 2 when I finish this, but so far so good.